Healthcare workers are the most important people in society, right? Like everyone will touch a healthcare worker at one point in their life. The crazy thing about entrepreneurship is it's not ever an overnight success, right? Like it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of pivots, it's a lot of kind of figuring things out, iterating your product. And I think it's really just about, as you said, having that passion and that resilience to kind of bring a solution forward to solve a problem.
As nurses, we are probably the best people to own businesses. We have such a compassionate nature to us. We want to make sure that even to our own detriment, that other people are well.
I always loved seeing a problem and being able to create a solution. And I think that's, what nurses do every day. So I think in part, that's what drove me to nursing. So many misconceptions out there and so many stereotypes of like what a nurse is. And I think we all play a part in changing that narrative. And I think so much of a nurse is being an advocate and being able to, change the public health. And obviously emergency services is so vital for healthcare and getting people into the hospital in times that they are, in a vulnerable spot.
Welcome to the Nurse on Purpose podcast, where we challenge media stereotypes about nursing and spotlight the incredible and diverse roles nurses play in healthcare. I'm your host, Nello. Every week, I'll be joined by a nurse who is reshaping the narrative. From frontline care to leadership, education, innovation, and beyond. Our aim is to show the world that nursing is so much more than what we see on TV. Together, we'll explore how we can collaborate with media and other stakeholders to create authentic and inspiring portrayals of nurses. Let's begin the conversation and ignite change, one episode at a time.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Nurse on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Nello, and I hope you guys are doing well and having a wonderful week. On today's episode, I have with me Anthony Scarpone, a former Broadway actor turned registered nurse and currently the CEO and co-founder of Adni. Adni is a digital home for healthcare workers. Anthony is also a fellow graduate of the University of Pennsylvania and the first nurse to be awarded the Penn President's Innovation Prize. Anthony describes himself as being on a mission to build technology that supports healthcare workers. Anthony, I am so delighted to have you on the show. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the Nurse on Purpose podcast. I love that everything this podcast stands for. So I'm really excited to dive in today.
Thank you so much. So today, we're really going to be focusing our discussion on entrepreneurship in nursing. We want to talk about really just how you built your business and, talk about some of the challenges, some of the rewards, what you've learned on your journey so far, and any advice that you would offer a budding entrepreneur as well. We're also going to get into media portrayals of nursing because, of course, that's what this show is all about. But I want to highlight what you're doing and really just how you got started and how the journey has been so far. I'd like to know, what was it that inspired you in the first place to pursue entrepreneurship in nursing? Was there any specific moment in your career that sparked that interest in starting a business?
Great question. I think that I was always pretty innately entrepreneurial. I think as most nurses are, right? Like the nursing process, ADPI, assess, diagnose, implement, plan, evaluate. Like that really is the entrepreneur journey, right? Like you have to find a problem, you have to ideate a solution, implement it, and then evaluate if it works. So I think that, I had that kind of entrepreneurial bug throughout my whole life. Like I always loved seeing a problem and being able to create a solution. And I think that's, what nurses do every day. So I think in part, that's what drove me to nursing as well, is just how boots on the ground and kind of hands-on the job is, and how versatile it is in all the different things that you are managing. But it was actually one specific, I guess, entry point, although I always had an inclination that I wanted to go into tech or maybe build a product or something in healthcare. It was actually during nursing school in my very first semester, actually, that one of my friends had approached me with an idea for starting a nonprofit, basically implement emergency text in the US. So when you think about calling an emergency service, like calling 911, you think about, typing in 911 and calling.
Mm,
But calling is not a super accessible thing for, many different populations, whether it's
mhm,
victims of domestic violence that aren't able to
mhm,
verbalize a community in front of a
mhm,
partner,
mhm,
or the deaf community, all of these different scenarios come up where maybe calling isn't best. So there is an ability to text 911, but when we started the nonprofit, it was like a very small number of US counties could actually accept text.
mhm,
And it wasn't really readily known whether or not
mhm,
your county even accepted text. So there was not like an
mhm.
emergency preparedness plan for
Right.
just educating the public about it. So
Mhm.
really, it was my friend kind of introducing this problem, and I think that it kind of aligned with my passion for healthcare and nursing. I think so much of a nurse is being an advocate and being able
Yep.
to, change the public health. And obviously, emergency services is so vital for healthcare and getting people into the hospital in times that they are, in a vulnerable spot. So that was actually my first little entrepreneurial journey, was starting this nonprofit called Text 911. And that was really opened my eyes to, wow,
Yeah.
like you can start things. Like
Yeah.
you have the tools, right? Like,
Things don't just magically
yeah,
appear. People actually started them.
right. Like, wow, like you have the tools to do it. And that
Yes.
was really
Yes.
the kickoff point for me
Yeah.
to kind of say, wow, I think I definitely want to pursue entrepreneurship and keep finding problems to
Absolutely.
solve.
Wow, that is so, what you said really just hit my chest because I was thinking to myself, we see problems all the time and we're like, that something like somebody needs to do something about that, as if that there's like a genie in the sky and when you pick out a problem they then come down to earth and then they fix the problem. And then when you think about problems or you think about needs, that's I think where starting a business really stems from, right? Well, the seed is planted in your heart and you're like, how can this be different?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're the one who's called to make it different. And I think if you pursue a business from a place of passion, you'll most often be successful because it's something that you truly feel a need for, a need to solve, right? Versus just like, I want to
Totally.
make some money, so I just want to do this thing. When it becomes difficult, you don't have a why. So then everything just kind of crumbles. So I love that you had the passion, and not only that, but the passion to truly meet a need. And so that's really brilliant. Can you walk us through the process of building your business from ideation, from, kind of inception to actually executing?
Mhm. Yes, it is a crazy journey to get to where we are today. So I'll give you the kind of crash course version of the journey. I think, the crazy thing about entrepreneurship is it's not ever an overnight success, right? Like
Oh no.
it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of pivots, it's a lot of kind of figuring things out, iterating your product. And I think it's really just about, as you said, having that passion and that resilience to kind of
Mhm.
bring a solution forward to solve a problem. So the journey started back in 2019. During nursing school, I was, really fortunate to go to Penn Nursing, where it was always just a very encouraging atmosphere for innovation and
Woohoo! Penn
entrepreneurship. Yeah, like just so
Nursing.
many great resources, so many great professors, like really speaking about innovation in nursing.
Yeah.
And I think that was really empowering for me as a student, just to always hear that and say, wow, like you can do so much with a nursing degree.
Yeah.
I ended up attending a nurse hackathon in 2019, which is basically like this kind of like conference like setting where it brought together a lot of different nurses and engineers and different leaders in the
Mhm.
space of healthcare to basically come together for a weekend, ideate around different problems, and create kind of these solutions in just like a very expedited time.
Yeah.
And it was such a fun experience. It's
Mhm.
actually where I met my co-founder for Adni, Jennifer, who
Jennifer.
was a NICU nurse for several years and also very passionate about building products and helping to solve, all the different problems that exist in our workforce.
Mhm.
So we met there, and through that hackathon kind of started the seedling of our business, which actually started with a specific pain point for night shift nurses. If you've ever worked a night shift, you can probably remember the time where your patient's sleeping and you have to kind of
Mhm.
tiptoe into their room to
Mhm.
change an IV bag or just do a quick
Mhm.
assessment, but
Mhm.
maybe you don't want to turn on those bright overhead room
Mhm.
lights that are going to disrupt
Mhm.
your patient's
Mhm.
sleep. So our idea was basically creating a wearable light that you could
Mhm.
attach to your scrub top to basically help you illuminate your workspace in a hands-free
Mhm.
way, so that you could provide the care you have to without turning on these intrusive overhead room lights.
So
And it was a really simple idea. Like, really, it's just a flashlight, basically, right? Like, it's not like this novel, like,
yeah,
crazy complex
yeah.
idea, but I think it solved a real problem that nurses could resonate with.
Awesome.
So, after some trial and error to kind of get the product off the ground, we were able to launch our MVP, which a minimal viable product. It's just that really simple prototype version of the
Mhm.
product. And it was super simple to start, really was just, we were buying like bike lights off the internet and dog lights and like runner lights, like trying to figure out like how we could create this product.
Yeah,
We ended up launching a pre-order sale for the product. We hadn't even put in our first order of the product from our manufacturer that we were able to connect with through
yeah.
very hacky ways. We like LinkedIn messaged people. We like asked people for
Mhm.
intros. We like didn't know what we were doing. We had some mentors, like very scrappy, right? Like no one really knows what they're doing when they're getting started. You just kind of figure it out as you go,
You
right?
do. Yeah, you
So
do. You
anyway,
have to
we
figure
got
it
this
out.
product launched for pre-orders, and to help spread the word, I started cold outreaching to different reporters on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I was just pitching these like local reporters and saying, "Hey, like Jennifer and I were nurses. We built this product for nurses." It was towards the end of the COVID-19 pandemic kind of
Mhm.
peak. So
Mhm.
I think there was a lot of interest in highlighting stories about nurses at that time. We were
Mhm.
super fortunate that a reporter responded and wrote an article about us in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And then that article ended up getting picked up by the New York Times. And
Ah,
for our pre order launch, we were featured in the New York Times. And that really helped us start the business because we got an influx of orders that was able to help us fund the first bulk order of our product. So that was the start of the journey. We then took that traction and momentum and really pushed into it, and knew that we wanted to build something bigger. We knew that the light was just the start. And it was a great way to kind of get our brand out there and start kind of getting nurses in our community. Very early on, we started a community group chat. We started a Facebook group. Like we really wanted to nurture our customers and kind of help them be a part of our journey. And we were super fortunate in May of 2021 to apply to Y Combinator, which is a tech startup accelerator in Silicon Valley.
mhm.
And we were accepted. And the pitch to them was, hey, we have this awesome community of nurses. We have this great product. We want to build something bigger and really help unify the healthcare workforce through technology. And we're the right team to do it because we're nurses ourselves.
Yes.
Um, Got into YC and started building towards the bigger vision of what Adni is today. And that started with user interviews. We went into our community of nurses that had bought the light, the Lumify light, and we just started having phone calls with other healthcare workers and saying, what are your problems? What are you feeling stressed about? And we obviously just heard a lot about the burnout of, a lot of the clinicians we spoke with, a lot of frustrations that they didn't have resources, they didn't have the tools they needed to do their work. So
Mm.
that was the insight and problem statement for us to then build what is Addy today and used to be called the Lumify Hub. And that was
Mhm.
basically, how can we bring everything a healthcare worker needs into a single app? And we called that a super app for healthcare workers, which basically means that we brought jobs, shopping, resources, community, really all of the things that we needed as healthcare workers to feel supported, to feel recognized, to feel a part of something with the support we need, kind of all in one place.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately led us to Adni. And 2 years later, we have nearly 100,000 healthcare workers in our user base, tons of enterprise customers on our platform, and 200 brands that sell in our marketplace. So it's been really exciting over the past 2 years to kind of build beyond the Lumify light and kind of build more of a digital home base for healthcare workers.
That is so wonderful. That is, I need to clap it up for you.
I told you, it's a crazy journey. It's like point A to
Oh
point
my
B to point C, a lot of twists
goodness.
and turns.
Wow. I think something that, was highlighted to me is really how you have to think outside the box. Sometimes you think, like the way you were saying, you leveraged the customer base that you already had with Lumify and
Yeah.
started to talk to them about what they needed. So at every turn, it was really about what people need. So when you think about entrepreneurship, for everyone who's listening, take note. You're not creating something that you think will sell or that you think, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I think it'll do well. You need to meet the needs of people. Otherwise, they're not going to patronize you. If they
Yeah.
don't feel that you're doing anything that is going to benefit them, change their lives in some way or shape or form, you may not get the patronage that you think you will. And so I've loved that you reached out to those people you already had, and sometimes it's important to be prepared, because when opportunity meets with preparation, that's when you have success. You guys were already in the works, and then COVID came, and then that just somehow became the opportunity for you to really push your brand out there. So I
Yeah.
truly commend you for that. And you
Thanks.
said 100,000.
Yeah, healthcare workers in our user base.
That is crazy.
I
That
know
is
it's
crazy.
it's wild. It's been like so cool to see the growth, and I mean honestly it's all come from like partners and just kind of boots on the ground, social media. Like
Mm,
I think you're so right. Like I feel like it comes back to just making sure you're providing value to someone and really
yes.
solving a problem for them and making it easier for them, cheaper for them, more convenient for
Yes.
them,
Yes.
improving things. Because yeah, I mean we're all so busy, especially healthcare workers, right? We are
Yeah.
super busy, super tired after working that
Yeah.
12-hour
Yeah.
hour shift.
12-hour shift.
So I think it's a really great point to make.
That's awesome. With having this much customer base, I know it's not all like rainbows and sunshine, right? What are some of the challenges? And also talk about the rewards, but I want to focus on what are some of the challenges that people that you faced and are kind of a natural part of the entrepreneurship journey.
Wow, there's so many challenges. It would literally take me all night to go through them all. But I do think that, it's definitely a sprint and a marathon at the same time. Like you always are kind of focusing on growth and going super fast and keeping that momentum.
Yeah.
But I think you also really need to preserve yourself and your team for the
Mm,
long game, right? Because
yeah.
definitely, as I mentioned, nothing is really an overnight success. So I think I would say, first is one challenge has always just been, balancing wellness as an entrepreneur. I think that's something that,
Yeah.
I obviously you face as a nurse working clinically. I think I faced it a lot as a nurse working in tech and,
Mm,
at this company, right? Like being an
yeah.
entrepreneur, like it's just always so much going on. And I think sometimes it's really hard to balance your own wellness,
Hmm.
making time to go to the gym, making time to like
Hmm.
spend time with
Yeah.
friends, just because you always are kind of working, and I think sometimes it's
Running.
really
Yeah.
hard to shut off like your brain. Kind of like after you work that 12-hour shift, you're thinking about your patients, you're thinking about
Yes.
what happened. I think it's very similar, with the entrepreneurship path. So I would
Hmm.
say that's definitely been a number one challenge, and just really always having that be a forefront of our team culture is,
Yeah.
checking in on each other's wellness, being able to encourage each other to take time
Hmm.
off to fill our cup however we need.
Absolutely.
Um, I would say the second has been, just kind of like general growing pains of the company. I think that, there's so much you don't know until you know it. Just like random things like I never had hired someone before. Like, how do
Yeah.
you know what payroll taxes are? Like, how to
Yeah.
file the state compliance taxes, or just
Yep.
like things. Definitely didn't learn that in nursing school.
Hmm.
But again, I think you just leverage your resourcefulness. You use your network to help support you. But I think, yeah, just the unknown is sometimes a challenge. And I think that's come from a lot of that growing pain.
Absolutely.
Um, and then I would say the third thing to kind of wrap it up on challenges is, I think when you're growing a business, it's obviously, you have to have a profit, right? Like you have to make a return on an investment.
Yep.
And I think that it's sometimes hard as you're growing fast to really maintain that like financial gain with
Hmm.
also ensuring that the healthcare worker is having the best experience possible. And I think I've
Yes.
seen this in a lot of businesses where it's like, they get to this point of revenue growth and then it's so easy to start exploiting the healthcare workers for
Hmm.
their data and for trying to stretch how much revenue you can get out of, the job applications or whatever. So I think that, something that's always been on my mind really from day one has been, how do we really create a team principle that, the healthcare workers first, and like we're healthcare workers ourselves. Like we want to be the platform that is trusted and is actually putting the healthcare worker first, because I feel like it's just so wild to see over and over again. I think healthcare workers really being exploited in the tech space.
Yeah.
So I think that's just been something personally that I have like this personal mission statement to be
Mhm.
able to grow the company, but always, keep that trust with the healthcare workers that we serve.
That is awesome. I really love that. What struck me where you said was that as nurses, we are probably the best people to own businesses because we
Yeah.
have such a compassionate nature to us. We want to make sure that even to our own detriment, that other people are well. We give
Right.
all of ourselves, we give all of our attention and time, even when we're struggling, to have that wellness, like you said. And so I think that having that as the core of your business and your business model is that I will never exploit a customer. I will never exploit my base will keep you successful forever, really.
Yeah.
And I really hope that for you.
Thank
And that's
you.
really awesome. And so I guess
Thank
that would
you.
be a reward, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's such a reward. It's so fulfilling. Like I always say, like I definitely miss like caring for patients, but I always tell myself, and my team says this as well, which is like the healthcare workers are kind of now our patients. And I
Yeah,
think that it's so needed, right? Like
yeah,
healthcare workers, as you said, we're always putting everyone else first. And I think
absolutely.
that that is just not sustainable. And I think we really need folks also in our community that are looking out for the fellow healthcare worker and making
Yeah,
sure that we have support, encouraging wellness, encouraging easy access to resources for
yeah,
therapy, childcare, healthy foods,
yeah.
fitness, whatever it is that you need to fill your cup. So I think that's always been the most rewarding thing to me is that I just feel like very passionate about the mission. And I just feel like healthcare workers are the most important people in society, right? Like everyone will touch a healthcare worker at one point in their life. And
Yeah.
I just think it's so wild that healthcare workers are just really unsupported and under-recognized. And I think they just serve
Hmm.
such an important role in society. So to be able to hopefully help fix that, I think is something that is very fulfilling and rewarding.
There are two questions I want to ask, but we can probably roll them into one, right? The first one I want to know is what are some like big lessons that you've learned as an entrepreneur? And then the other question is what advice would you give to somebody who is a budding entrepreneur? I think they kind of overlap in a way. So if you can roll them up into one, that'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many lessons, so many things I wish I could tell myself before starting this journey. I think that, you know, probably like the cardinal thumb advice for entrepreneurs that are thinking of solving a problem or interested in going out there is you just have to start.
Yep.
And I think that's advice that you hear so many entrepreneurs say, but really to dissect that a bit more, I think the reason that that's the advice is because I feel like it's really the number one reason that people don't move forward with entrepreneurship, right? Is like this fear that you don't have all the resources or you don't know enough or you aren't the right person.
Yeah.
But the reality is everyone's just kind of making it up as they go, right? Like even
Yep.
folks who look super accomplished or post
Absolutely.
on LinkedIn or
Yeah.
whatever, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we're all just trying our best, right? We're all
Yeah.
figuring it out. We're all making mistakes as we go. I have made
Absolutely.
so many mistakes. My journey to build this business has not been perfect. There's been so many times that I regretted making that decision or doing that or going this way. But you live and you learn, right? Like there's just
Yeah.
some things that you don't know because you've never
Hmm.
experienced it before. So I would just say that with the advice of just start, I think be fearless. I think that's really the underlying advice because you're never going to have all the answers.
Yeah.
There's never going to be that right time, right? I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, "Oh, I'm just waiting for the right moment," or this. No, no, no. This is the moment, right? Like
This
you
is
just gotta
it.
go.
Go.
So I would say just be fearless,
Yeah.
and use your resources, right? Like just go back to those nursing 101 fundamentals, right? Like nurses are already innately resourceful, empathetic,
Hmm.
critical thinkers. We're really great at triaging a lot of tasks, and that's literally what you do as an entrepreneur every day.
Yeah.
So be fearless and just really leverage those nursing skills.
Hmm. Awesome. That is wonderful. I'm just so proud of you. I'm like, oh, it's a fellow UPenn grad, and
Yes.
I feel like you hit the nail on the head. Just start. Honestly,
Yeah.
just start. Because if you don't leap, you'll never know how to fly. It's the ballerina movie. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a good quote. I'm gonna write that down. But
I
yeah,
love
it's
that.
true, right? Like I ideated about this podcast probably like 2 to 3 weeks before I started No
Yeah,
idea.
that's
I was just going
amazing.
to do Zoom. Remember when I reached out to you? I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's going to be on Zoom. But then I was like, wait, let me keep thinking and just people are doing podcasts, but I'm like, but that's audio. Well, let me just Google and check. Is there any other platform that I can use that's not Zoom? And then I saw a whole list. I'm like, whoa, like there's all kinds of things out there that I can find and blah, blah, blah. So I changed my whole game. If you sit there in your analysis paralysis, nothing's ever
Yeah.
going to happen. Just begin, just go with the
Yeah.
flow. You don't have to be perfect. You
Yeah.
know, do things well. I'm not saying you should just be haphazard or whatever. That's not the point.
Right. Right.
But if you have the resources to do things well, like I had the resources and I could get certain equipment. But if that's not even your story, try to find what you can and start where you are. What is
I
in
love
your
that.
hands? Start with that. I think that's it. That's how businesses are born. That's how ideas are born. All the great men and women who've built businesses will say just the same thing you said. Just
Yeah.
begin. If it's in your heart, bring it out of your heart and start to work on it. So I truly love
I
that.
love that so much. No, and you're such a great example of this with the podcast and all the incredible like content that you've built. It's like, right, you just have to get started. And I think too, like, leverage your community, right? Like there's so many
Mm,
great people like us where,
yeah.
LinkedIn message, connect with folks,
Yes.
like get a part of the community because
Yes.
people really do want to see others succeed. And I think we can kind of
Yes.
all kind of win together.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't be scared to like reach out to folks for help too.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
that's something that I was sometimes scared to do in the beginning. I was like, wait, I can just like message this like random like founder on LinkedIn, but yeah, you
Yeah.
can. And
People are
maybe
not
not
as
everyone will
scary as
respond, but
exactly. People are not as scary as you make them to be in your mind. Yeah.
yeah,
Like you said,
exactly.
people most of the time are willing to help. Like I reached out to you because I saw what you were doing and oh, you know what? I've always known about you on LinkedIn, but you know what really, really spoke to me and resonated with me was when you were doing your interviews on the streets of New York and asking people, what is it that they would like the public to know about nursing or something that you did in the conference and you talked about, what is one thing about nurses that people don't know, some misconceptions. And you talked about if you were an animal or something was what kind of animal would you be as a nurse? And you were talking to nurses. And I was like, this is my kind of person.
Aw.
And that really was what made me reach out because I was like, that's my entire message. And just to have the simple innovation of going on the street with your mic and just talking to people, like that alone is bringing so much awareness. And so
Aw.
that's when I was like, yeah, I've got to reach out to him. He's my kind of
Aw.
person. I want to talk
That
to
means a
him. I want to get
lot.
to know him.
And I was
Um,
so scared doing that, by the way. I need a behind the scenes reel of like me on the
really?
street trying to like interview people because I was shaking in my boots.
Are
Like
you
I
kidding?
didn't want to bother anyone and I just felt
Oh,
so awkward. But no,
yeah,
it's so great. Yeah, because we have to bring awareness to that. I think that's
yeah,
obviously, your mission too is just like these like media portrayals of like nurses. And
yes,
I think there's
yes,
just so many misconceptions out there and so many stereotypes of like
yes,
what a nurse is. And yeah, I
yes,
think we all play a part in changing that
absolutely.
narrative.
Absolutely. And what was like one of your favorite responses? Because, like, let's just get into the portrayals. What was one
Yes.
of your favorite responses, maybe regarding how nurses would really want the public to see them? And what are some misconceptions about nurses that people have?
Funny you ask, because I think that when I was editing the videos back, it was really, really interesting to me to see how many nurses were saying that they just want the general public to know that, like, as nurses, we do have the patient's best interest at heart.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that really struck me because I think what happens is, healthcare has just become so disjointed and there's so many things kind of sometimes getting in the way of
Hmm.
quality patient care, just like insurance and like all of these different moving parts.
Hmm.
Um, that it was really kind of, I don't know, just it stuck out to me that nurses really felt that they needed to kind of reiterate, like, no, like we do have your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Like, we're dealing with a lot on our plate too,
Right.
behind the scenes that, you might not be seeing, but we are your advocate and we do want you to have
Absolutely.
the best care. So I think that was definitely number one is just how many nurses said that. And then I think second to that, which probably is, not as surprising, but I think really how many nurses also said that, we're humans too.
Mm,
And we know that when you're often getting cared for by a nurse, you might be in one of your most vulnerable times that you've been in
absolutely.
your entire life, right? And I
Absolutely.
think that in that hard time, it's it's sometimes easy to forget that, yeah, the person caring for you, they are going home to their family and friends after too, right? Like they have their own life.
Absolutely.
So I think just, yeah, really bringing that awareness that, nurses are here to be our patient advocates and obviously be the most trusted profession. But at the end of the day, we're human too, and we have to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one more thing, actually, too, on
Yeah,
that, I just thought of another great point that was made a few
yeah.
times, which is that nurses can do so many things.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I just feel like that's the biggest misconception of nurses. It's like, I think the public just thinks about nursing and it's like, oh, you just like work at the bedside and you just like do all these tasks and like kind
Yeah.
of run around managing like all of the medication and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, no. Nurses are in tech, law, research, academia, business,
Absolutely. Yes,
media. Literally, nurses are in every facet of society and we play
absolutely.
such an important role in those spaces. So I think it
Absolutely.
was really cool to see a lot of nurses, really wanting the general public to know that there's
Yeah,
nurse CEOs, there's nurses running companies. Like,
absolutely.
it's really amazing all the things that nurses are capable of doing.
Absolutely. I love that. And I like that. It feels like we're in a season where nurses are really finding their voice, And
100%.
I'm just, just in the LinkedIn community alone, you see a lot of nurses speaking out about all kinds of topics, whether that is bullying in healthcare, whether that is, health policies that affect the nursing profession, whether it is, the media portrayal of nurses, business owners, coaches, all kinds of things. And I feel like nurses are sort of breaking out of their shell now. And we're no
Yeah.
longer like okay, I'm just going to go to work and go home. I don't have, I don't want to get into any trouble. I just want to do my thing and go home. I think it's such a positive thing for our profession because we truly are the heartbeat of healthcare. But
Yeah.
outside of having the compassion and the kind of empathy and the patient interest at heart, we need to highlight the research, the scientific part of nursing, and we really need
Yes.
to hone that. I think we have been sort of robotic for so long, just task oriented and doing and doing and doing, not really having time to say, you know what, we were taught in nursing school, and this is something I posted on my LinkedIn. We're taught in nursing school to think about the why behind our patient care, to think about the
Yeah.
path, though, to think about the mechanism of action, all these things. But when you get into the workforce, it's like, these are all the things you have to do. Who has, like, you don't even think about those things anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once in a while you will have to, but it just becomes so go, go, go all the time. So I really think that we need to get back to that. And I love that conversations are happening around it now, because when we really lean into the scientific side of our profession, we start to become key players. We start to become more noticed, more involved, have a seat at the table. People are not making decisions that affect us without us present. So
Hmm.
I really do love what is happening in nursing, and I hope that it continues to move and go and not stop. Right, this moving train. So I think that, one thing I wanted to talk to you about was nursing schools and how they, like you mentioned about Penn Nursing and how they have prepared you in this innovation and things like that. It's not a common like a curriculum aspect of our curriculum as nurses. How would you advise, or what would you say to nursing schools about better preparing their students for innovation and like entrepreneurial opportunities?
Absolutely. I think that nursing is arguably one of the most important stakeholders in improving healthcare, right? Because we are the ones that see it all, at the front line. Like, we see
Absolutely.
the problems of healthcare in a really intimate way, and therefore we're often able to think of the best solutions, right? Like, you can often tell when a product is implemented in a hospital unit, if that was really created with a nurse or not, right? Like, or
Yeah,
is it just like a few engineers that have
yeah,
never worked as a
yeah.
nurse a
Oh,
day in their
yeah.
life, right?
You're
Like,
like, oh my
there's a
goodness,
distinct
who was
difference.
thinking? There's a huge
Yeah.
difference.
So I think that going back to that as a principle, right? That we know to make the best healthcare for our patients and to have the best solutions, it's vital
Yes,
that nurses have a seat at the table and are leading these solutions, because
yes,
it impacts the patient care, right? If these solutions are made with nursing workflows in mind, with that nursing perspective in mind, it's going to make the patient care better, right? So I think
yes,
as long as we can kind of go back to that as a rooted argument, I think it makes complete sense for then nursing schools to have to provide their students with resources and tools to learn about innovation and to start thinking critically about the different problems that exist and how they can be solved. Because ultimately that is the nursing process, right? It's about finding those problems with your patient, with things going on, and you create a solution and then you evaluate if it worked. So I would say that going off of that, it doesn't need to be this like huge overtake, right? Like implementing education about innovation entrepreneurship can be very simple, right? Like there's so many resources out there already for design thinking and frameworks and case studies that are out there on the internet. Y Combinator Startup School. I think really just ensuring that, you know, your students have access to these resources and that it's a conversation, right? Like it's a topic that they're hearing about, because that I think is very empowering to just to hear in the beginning of your nursing career that you are an innovator and you're capable of solving really complex problems. Hearing that at the beginning of your nursing career is extremely empowering.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yeah, it shifts your mindset, right? From just somebody who's working all the time and, I have to pick a med-surg unit, or I have to pick whatever unit that I want to work. And it really starts to expand your mind to say, perhaps I just want to create a product that will do this or that. Or perhaps I want to go and get my MBA, or whatever it is. It kind of expands your mindset. It's sort of like the way people always feel like, I have to be a nurse practitioner after nursing. If somebody starts to tell you, no, there are options. You can be a business owner.
Yep.
You can be on YouTube, teach. I mean, a lot of people, nurses who are teaching basic like anatomy, physiology, they have their RNs. They didn't even go to NP school, which is perfectly great. I mean, your options are unlimited and you need to tap into those. It really will expand their mind and shift their mindset from this one track course to there's so much I can do. Even in clinicals, start to think about it. Are you seeing any things in clinicals that you're like, I wish this were different? Perhaps you can do something about it. Even as a student, you can start to think about that. So I think students need to take note of the fact that they're already innovators and they're budding innovators. The moment you step into a hospital, you have the ability to start looking around your environment and saying, is there something that I could do? Is there some difference that I could make in this environment as a nurse? So I think that's really valuable. I've really enjoyed talking about entrepreneurship and the nursing image and the portrayals. I want to play a fun game with you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So this is one of my favorite parts of the show. Okay. So I have with me a jar.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Don't be nervous.
I'm scared.
In this jar, I have all kinds of genres. It's like comedy or drama or thriller, sci-fi, and all of that. I'm going to pick a piece of paper. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to shake it around. I'm going to pick a piece of paper from the jar. And you, all of a sudden, become the producer of a show. And you become the writer of your own show, okay? So when I tell you your genre, I want you to give me like a quick synopsis. If you could write your own show with a nursing lead or a nursing character, how would that lead be portrayed? Or what would be the storyline? Take a breather.
Wow. Okay. Wait, this is so interesting.
We can give you a minute to think about it. And you can just, because this is last minute.
Genre, like, so.
Yeah.
Genre,
so I'll pick the genre.
And then how a nurse would be portrayed, or like the character of the nurse. Like,
yes, character of the nurse. Just tell me a story, as if you were telling me the synopsis of a show or whatever it is. That. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Shaking, 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 shaking. All right, let me close my eyes. Dramedy. So a drama, comedy. Dramedy. See, I wish I could show you. Can you see that? Dramedy.
Yes.
So, Anthony, go ahead. What would you do?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind... The first thing that came to my mind was that there is a travel nurse couple.
Okay.
Joe and Becca.
Okay.
Joe and Becca are on a travel nurse contract. They are a travel nurse couple. They go around different countries. Different states and cities traveling together.
Mm-hmm.
And they are like a really eccentric kind of like RV, like the typical like travel nurse. Like we love the RV traveling around.
Awesome.
But then Joe goes missing.
Ooh.
And Becca is working at the hospital. She's at her shift. And it's kind of a chaotic unit. There is some drama going on with the unit because the nurse manager is basically Joe's previous colleague or something. And
love interest, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little love interest there. And lo and behold, Joe goes missing. And then the story would kind of showcase Becca trying to like solve this like drama mystery, but then there's comedic energy because it's like nursing and travel nursing, which is super fun.
Awesome.
I'm not a producer. This is definitely the case to my mind. I don't know if that passed the test.
I love it. I love it so much. Look at it's just on the spot. Your ability to create something.
Becca
Listen,
and Joe. I mean, tune in soon.
Tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on NBC.
Yes.
I so love it. Thank you so much for that. That was awesome. Anthony, where can people find you and connect with you?
Yes, we'll definitely check out Adni. It's adni.co, adni.co. I'm also on social media at Nurse Founder. You can find me on LinkedIn, and then Adni's social media is Adni App, ADNIAPP. So yeah, definitely follow along, check us out. Feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions about nursing, entrepreneurship. We're always happy to support others. And thank you so much for letting me share a little bit about the story. And hopefully I didn't scare anyone away from nursing entrepreneurship. It's definitely a ride, but it is really fulfilling. And there's just really so many things you can do as a nurse, which I think is something that should really empower us all.
I love it. I love it. I think just step out, step into the water, sink or swim, just go for it. Don't be, like you said, be fearless, be bold, be courageous. The journey is not going to be linear. There will be ups and downs. So if you're not going because you think there will be ups and downs, then you're right. There will be. But if you already know that ahead of time, then it shouldn't deter you. Just go forward and go for it. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you, to see your amazing face, your amazing smile. You have an amazing spirit. I've really enjoyed just being on this podcast and chatting with you. I know that entrepreneurship is not an easy thing, but you truly make it worth it. You truly make it look like a cakewalk. You make it look easy. And I'm cheering you on all the way. Thank you guys for joining us on this podcast. Again, I'm Nurse on Purpose. Please like, please subscribe, please share with your networks so that we can do the work of amplifying nursing together. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for hanging with me till the end. I hope you gained some valuable insight into the world of nursing. If today's episode inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear about the amazing work nurses are doing. Let's keep breaking stereotypes and reshaping the narrative together. I'll see you next time.